Once dragged through court, the banker coin endured the fight and now quietly stands as the prototype every competitor rushes to claim. This isn't a comeback story. It's a moral inversion. The asset once punished for being plumbing has now become the standard that everyone follows. Back in 2018, Ethereum received a gentle regulatory nod. Then, 2 years later, XRP faced a federal lawsuit that branded its entire history as unregistered securities sales. Ethereum's clarity came from a single staff speech. XRP's, on the other hand, was forged through years of brutal litigation, ultimately earning a court ruling that distinguished the token itself from institutional sales. Then the SEC didn't just file a complaint. They aimed straight for Ripple's heart, alleging over $1 billion in unregistered securities sales and making XRP radioactive overnight. Then, almost overnight, U.S. exchanges pulled the plug. XRP vanished from trading screens, liquidity drained away, and institutions fled, leaving the asset frozen in legal limbo. Then the court drew a line that changed everything. XRP itself, traded on secondary markets, was not a security. The token was severed from institutional sales, and a path to survival opened up. The lawsuit that nearly destroyed Ripple ended up forging something its competitors simply cannot replicate. Through years of brutal litigation, Ripple earned court-tested legal clarity that no one else possesses. While others were off chasing casino apps and speculative hype, XRP was built for one unglamorous purpose: moving money across borders faster and cheaper than the legacy system ever could. Meanwhile, Bitcoin maximalists saw it as capitulation to banks. Then Ethereum's culture joined in, mocking XRP as a centralized corporate coin, dressed up as innovation but lacking the soul of true decentralization. Then, by 2026, Ethereum rebranded itself as Wall Street's operating system for tokenized treasuries and real-world assets, marketing the very institutional focus it had once mocked XRP for embodying. Charles Hoskinson had once dismissed Ripple's tokenomics as fundamentally flawed. But then, watching XRP's rally unfold, he acknowledged it as a return to where it truly belongs. By calling ADA, ETH, and XRP survivor assets, Hoskinson reframed their scar tissue as proof, not of failure, but of their ability to withstand pressure and keep standing. Then Hoskinson made a striking admission. He acknowledged that XRP's open ledger, combined with corporate stewardship, is structurally superior to centralized alternatives like Tether or Circle. Quite a shift from a former critic. What started as public skepticism has now turned into open collaboration. Cardano's roadmap embraces XRP DeFi, and Hoskinson suggests Ripple may need Cardano's Midnight sidechain for privacy capabilities. Then came Ethereum's scaling strategy, built on Layer 2s, roll-ups, and fragmented liquidity. All that complexity made institutional adoption messier than risk departments would have preferred. While Ethereum has tangled itself in layers and roll-ups, XRP took a different path. Its single-ledger simplicity and battle-tested corporate stewardship now read as clarity, not compromise. By 2026, the architecture had finally crystallized. XRP became the spine-moving value between banks and DeFi. Ethereum served as the programmable shell, and Cardano formed the specialized fabric, weaving it all together. Then Ripple went from lawsuit defendant to licensed provider, and eventually to acquirer of prime brokers. Along the way, it transformed XRPL into regulated plumbing, with XRP as its lifeblood. Then there is Ethereum, whose smart contract environment creates the programmable surface where tokenized treasuries, credit, funds, and complex DeFi instruments all come to life. Cardano becomes the fabric that ties it all together, with specialized execution environments and privacy layers routing flows from BTC and XRP into DeFi structures across chains. The asset they once punished for being plumbing is now the template everyone imitates when they want to sound institutional. They might dismiss XRP in public, but behind closed doors, they keep building bridges to its liquidity, designing dApps for its rails, and quietly acknowledging what it has become. The market doesn't reward purity. It rewards systems willing to be plumbing, absorb the blows, and keep functioning under legal scrutiny when the spotlight turns hostile. And so, the simplest way to judge any rail comes down to this. When the enforcement spotlight finally hit, did you get a polite speech, or did you take the punch and stay standing? XRP nearly buckled under the weight of an existential legal assault, but then it re-emerged, scarred, yet standing firm as a stable backbone, the most honest rail in the room. If this inversion shifted how you see the rails beneath finance, then follow along by subscribing to Smoke and Mirrors on Substack for more critical analysis.